Morning, everybody. Welcome back to the ShabinLife. So we thought we'd do a quick video. At least we're going to try and keep it quick and sort of catch you guys up on where things are at right now. There's a lot going on, as always. Some of it we got to videotape, some we did not. Some I think that we did tape. I don't really think I'm ever even going to get to in regards to putting a full video together. So Dayna and I just thought we'd just play a quick catch-up video starting from like July 4th weekend. So that was maybe what, almost 2 weekends ago?
Right.
So just about 2 weekends ago. So we thought we'd just run through a couple things and catch you up to now so that I can kind of pick up where we left off. So going back to July 4th weekend, that was our anniversary weekend. So we had kind of taken a few days to ourselves. Dayna was very thoughtful and put together a nice night for our anniversary. She got tickets to a local baseball game. I say local, about an hour from where we live.
But minor league team.
And it was tickets to a game that had fireworks and all that kind of stuff at the end of the game, which was awesome. The game itself was pretty BA. The pitcher for, I guess, our home team almost pitched the no-hitter up until like the top of the 8th inning, pitched the no-hitter. So it was quite a good game for two people who don't typically watch sports, play sports, but don't watch sports. So we had a really nice night. That was a Friday night of 4th of July weekend. I think the rest of the weekend, we had an opportunity to hang out with friends of ours that were about maybe 30 miles south of us. And they have a nice house in a development. So we were able to meet them and have dinner, and they also had fireworks at their development, which were over the lake.
On the lake, yeah. So it was cool to see when they exploded and came trickling down and landed on the water. It was pretty cool. At
first, I thought being the boat out there was pretty awesome, but then I just saw boats moving all over the place because I think they were just dodging that stuff falling into the lake. But it was really nice night. And fortunately for most people, other than maybe Saturday, which I still think Saturday had fireworks at places, but for the most part, it was a nice weekend. So everybody, I guess, got to enjoy fireworks wherever they were. But that brought us up until, 4th of July, which was Monday. Dayna and I just chilled by ourselves, had a nice relaxing day. Dayna got some hot dogs and some baked beans so we could have a nice little traditional barbecue, or we could grill. But yeah, we hung out the 4th of July. Again, it was really nice out, so we just kind of hung out and relaxed. So we had a really nice anniversary weekend. You know what it's like for like your birthday. Your birthday falls on a Friday or Saturday, and your birthday is all weekend long, right? So anniversary fell on a Friday. We got to celebrate all weekend long.
Plus, it's a holiday weekend anyway, so it's double
fun.
Double celebration.
But that brought us up into the beginning of the week. There's a lot of different projects going on right now, which makes it a little harder to tape because some stuff I started 6 months ago, and then I'm touching on it last week, and it's not going to be finished for another 6 months. So it's really hard to put those videos together. But you guys saw that the kitchen cabinets had come in for the most part. Some came in damaged from that one video we told you guys about. But we spent a couple days installing the kitchen.
The ones that we could.
Yeah, and fortunately, the cabinets that were missing, they're crucial to the kitchen, but it didn't hold us up from getting started. So we did start installing the kitchen. As a matter of fact, we pretty much got as far as we could in a few days, installing all the lowers as well as all the uppers that we had on hand. So we're just waiting for those damaged cabinets to come in where we can finish off not only the kitchen portion, but the island portion as well. We're missing a 12-inch lower for the island. We did, however, the island's going to have two uppers that rest against two lowers. Since they sit lower as uppers, do that, right? We needed to build a base to bring those uppers to the same height as the 34.5-inch lower. So we got the base built. We got the two uppers set on that and screwed to it. Got it kind of sitting together right now with just a piece of wood over top. And, we slid the damaged 12-inch lower in there just to give us an idea of the measurements and stuff like that. But we were able to get that kind of finished up. So the kitchen's kind of where the kitchen is right now until we can get the rest of the pieces to kind of finish everything off. But we worked on that a little bit, I guess, during our anniversary weekend, a little bit into the beginning. And then I also had touched on the accessory building. I won't talk about that too much. I know I've mentioned it a bunch of times over the last year, and it just is, it's a difficult situation. The building itself is nothing that I'm worried about, but the base itself is just made out of massive boulders. and it's kind of like a dry stack sort of retaining wall. So it's been a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I'm one dude. The machine that we have isn't exactly cut out for what we need to be able to set and place big boulders like that. So I'm doing the best I can to kind of roll stuff into place and tip it in with the backhoe, then move it by hand. It keeps me up at night sometimes, but we're making some slow progress on the retaining side of that. Once we can get the base build and backfilled with rock, plate compacted, all that good stuff, putting the building up shouldn't take us very long at all. So we touch on that on days that there's maybe nothing else going on, or that I've got an idea on how to do something, or if we pick a huge rock out of somewhere, instead of just putting it aside, we try and get it right up there and sort of get it somewhere in place. We also spend some time separating the rocks. So like little rocks that'll just be filler, up to like, nice size, like home plate size rocks, and nice thick ones that can be used to actually mortar in and start to help create that wall in areas that I won't have big boulders for. So we worked on that a little bit as well. I guess mixed in with that was the flashing.
Yeah.
You guys saw the video for the flashing.
Right.
That took about maybe 3 days. Wasn't something that we had planned on doing ourselves, but in the end, it's just how it had to be. So we were able to find the aluminum brake. We were able to get a template made. We bent all the flashing, and if you haven't seen that video, you can go back and watch it. But we're happy that it's done, and I'm stoked because now there's no more exposed wood on the house. So pretty much everything that needed to be covered other than siding is taken care of.
Which brings us to siding.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
We're kind of teetering back and forth because everything's just still absolutely crazy expensive. We anticipated siding last year, and when we priced it out, basically one of the guys that I've been dealing with at a local lumber yard just laughed, when I asked him about siding. So we decided to hold off for a little while, and sadly nothing has changed. If the material availability has gotten better, then just the price stayed the same, and the fuel surcharges and additional surcharges from the freight companies have added on to the distributor's expense. So if it did go down in material price, it just went up in surcharges. So, what used to be, let's say, $1 a square foot is upwards of like $2.50, maybe $3 a square foot where we are. So, instead of it being maybe $3,000 to $4,000 for vinyl siding, which we think we want to do board and batten vinyl siding, that's what we've had from the get-go, possibly mixed in with like a cedar shake look up top. But, you went from a $3,000, $4,000 bill doing it ourselves to potentially a $10,000 bill. So these are definitely expenditures that we did not expect.
But we're kind of running up against the clock trying to get it done. We know that the siding needs to go up this year before the winter comes.
Yeah.
And, you think it's the middle of July and you got plenty of time, but we don't.
It's going to creep up on us, and
Yeah.
I know it's going to take a little time not only to get the siding, but obviously to install it ourselves. So, we're working on that kind of stuff, but for the most part, the house is buttoned up on the outside with the flashing being done. And again, we just wanted to bring you guys this video because there's a lot of little clips here and there. I had done a whole video plumbing in the utility sink. I had gotten that mudroom kind of all wrapped up before Dayna came home that weekend, and I had the utility sink in place, but I had done a video installing basically a P-trap and then tying in the water lines for the utility sink, which literally should be a 30-second, putting in a P-trap is nothing, but it just so happened that where I placed the sink, where I wanted the sink, how I placed the drain line, everything lined up so perfectly that it actually made it really difficult. So I had done this video to show you guys, hey, like if you ever get caught in this kind of situation where everything's perfectly centered and there's not enough distance, a lot of times you can spin that P-trap around, but you can't do that when everything's in line. So I'm not really going to make a video out of that. If somebody has questions on, how we installed it, I can take some pictures for you. But we did wind up being able to keep the sink pretty much where it needed to be, tucked in that corner. But again, spend all that time taking the video while you're doing the project, and then I just don't get around to piecing it all together. Starts to get a backlog of things, as I'm sure everybody else that's out there doing YouTube knows. But again, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. We did get, so the utility sink got all plumbed in, all the water lines got cut and tied in. So, once we get water, we can make that work.
A few projects down here at the Shabin, speaking of water, so what we're learning is we haven't had a good rain in probably 2 weeks. So our rain collection tote is pretty low. So we're praying for rain. Fun Size Garden is praying for rain, and the orchard definitely could use a good,
everything
a good
here.
Soaking.
The lawn, even the weeds are dying.
Yeah. So we're learning to conserve water while we wait for the rain to come. But it brought us back to the rain collection system itself and the tote.
And the shed.
Yeah.
So another thing too is we're learning, but in phases. I mean, we've been here for 5 years. You know, the water collection system's been in place for probably 2, maybe even a little longer. You know, we've always had plenty of water. In the wintertime, we sort of empty those totes because they'll freeze. You know, we've been pretty good about like how the water works around here, but we've been living, you know, in the Shabin now for a year. You know, it's been a full year living in the shed, which we'll do another video on because that's kind of fun. And obviously there's things that you learn on a constant basis. The water is definitely one of them now. We've never really been low on water. We also didn't have the orchard, didn't have the garden, and as much as we anticipated having to water that stuff, you know, we were hoping to offset some of it with rain. We should have probably taken notes over the years because we would have probably told ourselves that, like, you know, end of June into July, maybe August, it seems to be really dry, as I'm sure it is a lot of other places. But, you know, those are the times that in, like, you know, May, I should be filling the other IBC tote up, which we've done before as well. We have one IBC tote that's connected to the rain collection system. Then we have one that's just freestanding that's on a base next to it. And typically what we would do is fill up 5-gallon buckets. When our rain collection tote was full, we would just empty 5-gallon buckets into the other one. We'd put maybe 100 gallons in there, and then that would be like sort of a backup in case we had an emergency. We didn't really get on that this year for a couple of reasons. Like Dayna said, there were some issues here at the Shabin. And also I'll go forward then backwards. One was the Shabin has sunk another 2 inches, and we anticipated that again. We jacked it maybe a year or 2 ago, and we raised it about a half an inch or so, and we knew that wasn't enough, but we had some fence slats and we just jacked it and put them under. But we knew that it was off by a bit, so we, you know, shot it with a level, and we realized we were off like, you know, 3 inches in one corner, 3 inches another, 2 inches another. So we knew that it needed to get jacked up. In addition, during the winter time, the rain collection pipe froze and cracked where the T's all meet. Once it thawed, they all kind of just sucked themselves back together, and it's been working fine, but we knew it had to get replaced. In addition to, we're running low on water in the actual totes. So we knew that we needed to do a couple things in sequence. The Shabin needed to get lifted so that it graded the gutters back towards the rain collection. The rain collection piping needed to get replaced. But the IBC totes, as much as they were getting empty, they needed to be cleaned.
Yeah.
Big time.
Needed a good scrubbing.
Yeah. So we never wanted to like wait till they were full to want to clean them, because then you're just wasting water. So we knew we had to get low in order to do it. And now is the time, not by choice. So we had about 100 gallons of water in the IBC tote that's connected to the rain collection system. We decided to use a small transfer pump, which we've been hesitant on buying because we just don't have much use for a little one. We'll probably have use for a larger one when we have the big cistern. So we purchased a little Drummond, you know, I think it's like 3.5 gallons per hour little transfer pump from Harbor Freight. And it's fortunately the generator sits over there, so plugging in the transfer pump's no big deal. But we basically took the 100 gallons, we filtered it through a 50 micron filter into a bucket. And then we just stuck the suction hose from the transfer pump in the bucket, and as the IBC tote was emptying through the filter into the bucket, we were sucking it out of the bucket and pumping it into the other IBC tote. So we have right now about 90 clean gallons or filtered, you know, gallons of water in that second IBC tote. The other one now is just totally empty. We left about maybe 20 gallons in the bottom of the one that's connected to our rain collection system so that we could use that water to get a brush in there and scrub it down.
Yeah.
We basically unscrewed the handle off of a, you know, brush that we use for the solar panels in the wintertime, and we were able to slide it through the hole in the top of the tank and then hold it there while we screwed the handle back on. And then we basically just used that to scrub down the sides of the IBC tote. I'm sorry we didn't take video of that. It's probably the stuff we should be videoing. But
before we could do any of that, we had to clear out the side of the shed. So that side of the shed is where we stored all our
hand tools, and
shovels, rakes, all the garden tools, all the whatever tools.
It was a perfect spot because there's a ton of shovels and rakes and spades and stuff, and they just lined all the way down this side of the Shabin over here.
But they needed a new home so that, one, Dave could get to the rain collection system. Two, we could take off the we have metal
hardware cloth
that keeps the critters from getting under the shed. All of that had to come off so that everything was clear so that we could jack the shed.
Yeah, so we moved all of the hand tools to the old sawbuck. We have a new sawbuck that we got from a neighbor. It's a metal I-beam sawbuck. We have one that we made that folds open and closed. So we basically opened it, added 2 more runs to the very top that were about 6-8 feet long, and then we basically can stack the hand tools against each other like this, crisscross. And it actually worked out really nice. We put it behind the Shabin, and now, I mean, they're really organized. They have a home for a little while over there, and it got them off the side of the shed, which then led us to basically taking the hardware cloth off around the bottom of the shed so we could get the high jack under there and jack the shed up. So like I said, we did jack the shed up. We raised it about 2 to 3 inches in the front, all the way across the front. We were able to slide a 2x4 under there after once we got in the air, we kind of pushed some rock back under to set the 2x4 on. So it actually brought everything back to just about level. I'll be interested to see how the rain runs at this point. And I'm sure that we'll get a little bit more settling after we finally get a rain. I mean, that's a lot of the reason why the shed is settling now. But yeah, we got the shed lifted. And once we were all finished with that, we were able to put all the hardware cloth back on around the bottom of the shed, and basically just keeps the rabbits and stuff out there. Not that I don't mind them going under, but they make a home in there, and then they're noisy at nighttime. So put the hardware cloth back on, and once that was all finished, we kind of took care of the IBC totes, got them all emptied, got them all cleaned. The IBC tote that is connected to the rain collection system came up almost crystal clean. After we got everything scrubbed down and the bottom all scrubbed, that water was gross. We basically tipped the IBC forward, added a pipe onto the little valve in the front, and then opened it so we could discharge the water out to the side. And that thing is just crystal clean. It also gave us a chance, since it was empty, we needed to stack a little more rock underneath the one side and level that tank back out.
Yeah, that settled.
Maybe only like an inch, and it wasn't a big deal, but we were able to get that all leveled back out because when we redid the rain collection system, I wanted to make sure we get that piping right back in the filter on top. And with it a little cockeyed, I didn't want to do all the rain piping and then fix the IBC tote later. So we got that all leveled back out again, and then we kind of worked on getting the rain collection system all fixed. And I was able to use some of the piping that was already up there. I basically just had to cut out the section where everything meets the first flush pipe and then the overflow pipe into the IBC tank. But that worked out really nice, and actually we were able to get a better grade on this pipe here that goes from this gutter back to the back gutter. That's the longest run. Before it had just a slow pitch to it because I figured the water's eventually going to make its way there. This time we put a little bit more of a grade to it, so I'm hoping that we never get any standing water in there. And we also, the only thing we really changed was the first flush, which is basically the pipe that, gets that first run of water. It sort of takes all the debris, the heavy debris that comes down the pipe, and it sinks it to the bottom. When the water flows up to the top where the T is, it then makes its way over to the discharge pipe into the tank. Before it was only maybe 6-8 inches long, and we just used to unscrew a Fernco coupling to empty it. This time we made it about 3 feet long just to give it a little extra room to collect some of that nasty water before it starts dumping in the tank. There are filters still in place in all 3 sections, both gutters, and then where it goes into the IBC tote. And then, like I said, we've been using a spin down filter, a 50 micron spin down filter, right, that's connected to the discharge valve. So when we fill buckets up and stuff, we put that filter on there, open it up, and then the water in the tank gets filtered again coming out. So it's about as clean as it can be for just collected rainwater. But yeah, that was nice. I mean, we were able to get that all fixed, and fortunately we got it fixed before it rained. Now we just want the rain.
Such a tease yesterday.
If it gives you any indication of where our minds are with the water right now, we did water the garden and the fruit orchard this morning. This is the first time in a couple days that we've done that because we knew we weren't getting rain. We thought we might get a little thunder shower last night. It never came. So where we would normally use probably 30 gallons of water to do the entire orchard, this morning we did it in 10 gallons. Everything got about half, and the trees that are doing really well, we kind of held off on and just hit some of the trees that looked like they were struggling. We did a little bit of a lime slurry mix to pour into the vegetable garden because we noticed some of the tomatoes had a little bit of blossom end rot. Not many, but just to make sure that that doesn't, continue to happen. We just mixed maybe a handful or two of lime in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket of water, spun it up real quick with our hand, dumped it into the watering can, and then just emptied it over the vegetable garden. But in addition to all that, we have probably about 90 gallons of water left, maybe a little less. For Dayna and I, we take showers every night. I mean, it's the only way to cool down. Plus, after a long day's work, I mean, you've sweated 90 times over again. So all you really want at the end of the day is a shower. We have a 3-gallon bucket that we use in our little shower pump. So for Dayna and I, we probably don't fill the bucket all the way, but that's our shower. So I get a bucket, she gets a bucket. Potentially that's 5 or 6 gallons a piece. So, 75 to 90 gallons of water would go pretty quick just with taking showers. So have to be diligent right now about like where that water's going, and, that we don't use too much of it too fast until we get some rain.
Yeah. The biggest thing, the most exciting thing, is that where we're at?
Sure.
The most exciting thing after all those other tasks and chores, once we got the Shabin all leveled out, it was time to install some brand new flooring inside the Shabin.
We were so excited. We are living large. As a matter of fact, this I think we did take some video of.
We do have a little video.
Let's take you there now. There you have it, brand new flooring in the Shabin in under 5 minutes. This is a new style, very hard to come by, R3 corrugated cardboard flooring. This is a custom color. We had this custom tinted in a light brown so that it matched our existing flooring. It's very clean. It's easy to take care of. It costs more for the Tyvek tape than it does for the actual flooring. We already know, being trendsetters, that now that all the homesteading and off-grid channels have seen this, we're going to start seeing corrugated cardboard floors everywhere. But just remember, it started right here on the ShabinLife. What do you guys think? Like Dayna says, what is it?
Custom cardboard carpet.
We are living high society, baby. Got some brand new cardboard flooring.
It's the little things.
Last night we were sitting in there going, wow, this floor looks nice. Wow, this floor looks nice.
Although the corrugated on your bare feet kind of feels like you're walking on bubble wrap.
Yeah, we're crushing the corrugation. We're losing our R value there. We had an R3 insulation value. Now we're just losing it. It's like an R1 now. But that's about where we are right now. There's a lot of little things going on. I mean, it's still everyday chores as far as like mowing the lawn. On a good day, if I can get the entire lawn cut with the brush hog, it's about 5 hours. So, I mean, that's a really long day. Kind of beats you up and you're pretty much done for the rest of the day. We have a lot of wood stacked up in the driveway that needs to get processed, which I think is going to be something we work on the next couple days. And other than that, some small things. Both the carburetors and the 2 lawnmowers that I have need to get cleaned. I'm having trouble starting both of them, so I'll have to take the carburetors apart and clean them out. And, we finally got the tiller working, and it's been covered, so I hope that that's not an issue. I need to replace a gas tank on our chipper. It was cracked before, and it didn't really cause any problems because it was cracked at the top portion. So I just used to fill the gas tank up like a quarter of the way, but I've noticed that crack is getting a little bit bigger. So, the gas tank has to get replaced, and the deer are still eating a lot of our plants in the garden. So we have picked up a couple motion detected LED lights that we're going to put on some posts up by the garden and see if we can place them so that maybe they go off at different times and maybe scare the deer a little bit. Fortunately, they haven't eaten too much out of the fun-sized garden. When they can stick their head through the rope, they nibble on some of the leaves that are sticking out, but I guess at that point it's deserving. But other than that, it's just kind of, you know, maintaining homeostasis here and making sure everything is good for Dana and I. And we continue to talk about the off the cuff with DG2. We know that we haven't been back with another one since that first 5 things you didn't know about us, but we do have a couple in the arsenal. We just haven't pulled the trigger on actually videotaping them yet. But
we'll call them off the cuff-ish.
Yeah.
Since we think about it ahead of time.
Yeah, it is a little weird that we're planning the off the cuff, but that's
definitely
okay.
Want to do a short video on, you know, what it's life living life in 240 square feet.
Yeah, and we'll leave you with this. Dana and I say often that, you know, are you living off grid? Are you building off grid? And are you building off grid while you're living off grid? Which I think are 3 different things. And they each have their pros, some cons. But those are topics that we wanted to talk about as well, so that anybody out there that's thinking about making a change like this or trying to do something like this, maybe we can give you some tips and tricks and some things to kind of help you out along the way.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
And that's it.
I guess that's it.
Back to work.
Yeah. It's early, so we tried to do this while the shade was still out, but now it's back to chore time. So as always, we appreciate you guys checking in and watch the videos. And if you haven't been to the channel before, feel free to subscribe. We promise that, like we say, as always, there's fun stuff coming. We did clean the house pretty massively yesterday. 1, so that we could get ready for the rest of the kitchen cabinets to come in. 2, so that we could pick out the perfect piece of custom flooring for the Shabin. And 3, we cleaned out the bathroom, which was like a holding area right now for some odds and ends, because tiling the bathroom is very, very close. So definitely some fun things coming in the near future, so be sure to stick around. And I guess until next time, stay fly, and we'll catch you on the next video.